The office as we know it is dying, and there are 8 simple, straightforward steps that are going to take it to its logical conclusion. And I'm going to list those now. When leases run out, every company is going to downsize at the very least. Remember, hybrid work is, in a way, unused office space, and pretty much every company is operating on a hybrid model. When their leases run out, they're going to make the easy decision to cut space. Startups, which are new companies that provide future growth, aren't going to bother with the office at all. For new companies in the last decade, about 80% offered flexibility in where you work. In other words, most 4 out of 5 startups in the last 10 years or so jumped straight to a remote first model. So you have old companies reducing office space, and you have new companies not using office space at all. Third is AI. And what's a prediction video without a discussion about AI, of course, but AI is going to reduce the amount of desk jobs altogether. So McKinsey and Company predicted that 30% of hours worked across the US currently could be automated away by AI in 2030. So that means there's just going to be fewer workers, meaning fewer spaces in offices. So that's another downward pressure on office space right there, is the AI thing. With all that going on, there will be a major crash in commercial real estate, particularly office space. So we're already seeing that happening. But if you take San Francisco as an example, which might be the worst case city in the country, in 2019, 4% of office space in San Francisco was empty, was vacant with no tenants. That number is 34% now in late 2023. So it's up by factors, the amount of empty office space. Once that crash happens, anyone who wants a lease in an office will be able to demand much shorter and more flexible leases. So step 5 is you come in and have much shorter leases, maybe a year or month to month even in some cases, or a few years instead of 5, 7, 10, 15-year leases, which will make the use of office space even more flexible. Crappy offices, which are Class C offices, are going to never will be filled again. So right now, I talked to Tim Kempton of CBRE, and he was just saying essentially companies are abandoning Class C spaces, but they are still leasing new Class A spaces. So the really nice offices will get filled or remain to be filled. The Class C spaces are going away completely. So those will be the first to go. Once sort of the whole market resets and you no longer have thousands of people for one company in one city commuting in every day to the same centralized office, you'll see workers disperse around the country and around the world, and big companies will have more satellite offices. So they'll maybe have a tiny little office because it's super cheap for 100 people in that city to use if they feel like it. But that's not a huge investment anymore. So that's still a fraction of what it once was. And then secondly, after that, co-working spaces will come in as well and do the same sort of thing. They'll scoop up cheap office space. They'll offer attractive rates for people to have a place to work outside of the home. And that will be the future of the office. It won't be the way we currently know it, where people are going in to work for their company at a centralized office. It will be satellite offices, co-working spaces that are close to where you live, reducing the commute, and there will be a lot less office space than there was before. So essentially, I see the future of the office, ironically, as a place for remote workers to focus for a few days per week or work in small teams when necessary.